Good evening, and let me say something that might completely change the way you think about something you've done your entire life. Drinking water. You've been told your whole life to drink 8 glasses a day, stay hydrated, keep that water bottle with you at all times. And if you're waking up 2, 3, 4 times a night to rush to the bathroom, you probably assumed that was just aging, just part of getting older, something you have to accept. Tonight, I'm here to tell you that is absolutely not true, and the way you're drinking water might be the very reason you're losing sleep every single night. My name is Dr. Daniel Hayes. I'm a urologist, and over the past 23 years, I've treated thousands of patients whose sleep was being destroyed, not by a disease, not by a medication problem, but by something as simple and fixable as when and how they consumed fluids throughout the day. And tonight, I'm going to share with you a 5-step water drinking protocol that I've refined over 2 decades of practice that can reduce your nighttime bathroom trips by up to 60%, sometimes within the very first week. Now, before we go any further, I want to mention a remarkable study published by the National Institute on Aging that found that adults over the age of 65 who experience 3 or more nighttime awakenings to urinate, a condition called Nocturia, which simply means nighttime urination, have a 400% higher risk of falls, a significantly elevated risk of depression, and a life expectancy that is measurably shorter than those who sleep through the night. 400% higher risk of falls. That number should stop you in your tracks, because we're not talking about a minor inconvenience here. We're talking about a condition that is quietly stealing your health, your independence, and your years. And here's what I want you to stay for, because I'm going to reveal the number 1 strategy on this list, and I promise you it is not what you expect. It has nothing to do with drinking less water. In fact, it might involve drinking more water at a very specific time, and the science behind it is going to surprise you completely. But before we dive in, I want to ask you something. Drop a comment below and tell me your age and how many times you're getting up at night right now. I read every single comment on this channel, and I respond to as many as I possibly can. Your story matters, and what you share down there actually helps me create better content for you and for the millions of seniors who are going through exactly what you're going through. All right, let's get into this. We're going from number 5 down to number 1, ranked from helpful to absolutely life-changing. Number 5, the cutoff time you're probably getting completely wrong. Almost every patient who comes into my office and tells me they're waking up multiple times a night tells me the same thing when I ask about their fluid habits. Oh, I stopped drinking water at 8 o'clock, doctor. And I have to look them in the eye and say, that is too late, and it might be making your problem significantly worse. Here's why, and the science here is genuinely fascinating. Your kidneys are extraordinary organs. Think of them like a sophisticated water treatment facility that runs 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, processing about 45 gallons of blood every single hour. But here's what most people don't know. Your kidneys follow a biological rhythm, a circadian clock, just like the rest of your body. During the day, when you're active, your kidneys are in high production mode, filtering aggressively, pushing fluids through. But as evening approaches and your body begins preparing for sleep, the kidneys are supposed to slow down dramatically, concentrating urine and reducing output so you can sleep undisturbed. Research from Osaka University in Japan, published in the journal Chronobiology International, found that disruptions to this kidney circadian rhythm are directly linked to nocturia in adults over 60. And here's what disrupts it most severely: consuming significant fluids in the 2 to 3 hours before bed. When you drink a large glass of water at 8, 9, or 10 at night, you're essentially sending a flood of fluid to a system that was winding down for the night, and it has no choice but to process it while you're trying to sleep. Now, after age 70, this problem compounds dramatically. Research indicates that the kidney's ability to concentrate urine overnight decreases by approximately 30 to 40% compared to a 40-year-old. So, your kidneys are already less efficient at doing this nighttime slowdown, and then you're adding more fluid on top of it. It's like asking a tired worker at the end of their shift to take on twice the workload. What I recommend to my patients is a hard fluid cutoff at 6:30 in the evening. Not 8, not 7:30, 6:30. And for most of my patients, this single adjustment alone reduces their nighttime trips by 1 to 2 visits within the first week. Now I know what you're thinking. What if I get thirsty after that? I'm going to address that because there are very specific reasons you're getting thirsty at night, and we're going to fix that at the root level. But for right now, 6:30 is your new evening fluid boundary. Margaret, a 71-year-old retired school teacher from Boise, Idaho, came to see me after getting up 4 times a night for 3 years. She told me she'd accepted it as her new normal. She had stopped traveling with her husband because she was terrified of bathroom access on long flights. Within 10 days of shifting her fluid cutoff to 6:30 and following the rest of this protocol, she was down to 1 bathroom trip a night. She cried in my office. She told me she and her husband had just booked a trip to Portugal. That is what good sleep does. It gives you your life back. Number 4. The morning loading strategy that almost nobody does. Here's a concept that I want you to really absorb, because it runs counter to everything you've been casually told about hydration. The problem for most seniors isn't that they're drinking too much water. It's that they're drinking it at entirely the wrong times. Specifically, most older adults are dramatically underhydrated in the morning and overhydrated in the evening. And that single pattern is one of the primary drivers of nocturia. Think of your body's fluid needs like a bank account. You want to make your deposits early in the day so you're not scrambling to catch up at night. When you front-load your hydration, meaning you consume the majority of your daily fluid intake between waking and 2 o'clock in the afternoon, you give your body, your cells, your muscles, your organs everything they need while your kidneys are fully awake, fully active, and fully capable of processing it efficiently. A study from the University of Tokyo followed adults aged 65 to 80 over a 12-week period and found that those who consumed at least 60% of their daily fluid intake before 2 p.m. experienced a 47% reduction in nighttime urination frequency compared to those who spread their fluid consumption evenly throughout the day. 47% from just shifting when they drank, not how much. Here's why aging makes this strategy even more critical. After the age of 65, your body's thirst sensation becomes significantly blunted. The hypothalamus, the part of your brain that signals thirst, becomes less sensitive over time, which means you're often dehydrated for hours before you ever feel thirsty. And then when you finally feel that urge to drink, it's often late in the day, and you end up compensating at exactly the wrong time. What I recommend is what I call the morning loading window. Within 30 minutes of waking up, drink 16 ounces of water. That's 2 full cups. Do it before your coffee, before your breakfast, before anything else. Then continue steady, moderate hydration through the morning and early afternoon. By 2 o'clock, you want to have consumed approximately 70% of your total daily fluid goal. After 2, sip only as needed, and remember, full stop at 6:30. Pair this strategy with your morning movement, even if that's just a 10-minute walk. Physical activity in the morning activates the lymphatic system and helps your body process and distribute fluids more efficiently, making your morning hydration work even harder for you. Robert, 78 years old, from Scottsdale, Arizona, was a former engineer who approached his health with the same precision he brought to his work. When I showed him the data on morning loading, he went home and built himself a hydration schedule on a spreadsheet. 3 weeks later, he called my office just to tell my nurse that he'd slept through the night for the first time in 6 years. 6 years. He said he felt like a different man. Now, before we get into the top 3, And I promise you the top two are going to genuinely surprise you. If this information is helping you, I want to ask you to take just 1 second and hit that subscribe button below and give this video a thumbs up. I put out content like this every single week, and the only way it reaches the seniors who need it most is when you engage with it. And if you haven't already, drop your age and your current situation in the comments. I truly read them. All right, let's keep going. Number 3, the salt and mineral connection your doctor probably hasn't mentioned. This one raises eyebrows in my office every single time I bring it up, because for decades, seniors have been told to watch their salt intake, and in certain contexts, that advice is absolutely valid. But here's what the same doctors giving that advice often fail to explain. Sodium plays a direct and critical role in your body's ability to retain water at the cellular level. And when you're chronically low in sodium and other key electrolytes, your kidneys have no choice but to dump fluid, which means more urine, more urgency, and more nighttime trips to the bathroom. Think of electrolytes like sodium, potassium, and magnesium as the glue that holds water inside your cells. When you drink plain water without adequate electrolytes, your cells can't hold on to it efficiently, and it passes through your system much more quickly, landing in your bladder far sooner than it should. Research from the American Journal of Kidney Diseases found that adults over 65 with lower dietary sodium levels, specifically those consuming less than 1,500 milligrams per day, showed measurably higher rates of nocturia compared to those with moderate sodium intake around 2,000 milligrams daily. After age 75, this becomes an even more urgent issue because aging kidneys become less efficient at reabsorbing sodium, meaning you lose more of it through urine, which triggers a cascade. Your cells can't retain water, your body keeps sending fluid to the bladder, and you keep waking up at night. It's a cycle, and it starts with mineral depletion that most seniors don't even know they're experiencing. What I suggest to my patients is adding a small pinch of high-quality sea salt or Himalayan salt to their morning water. Not a teaspoon, a small pinch. This trace amount of sodium, along with the naturally occurring minerals in these salts, helps your cells absorb and retain that morning hydration far more effectively. I also recommend foods naturally rich in potassium and magnesium: avocado, bananas, pumpkin seeds, and leafy greens, because these minerals work synergistically with sodium to maintain what scientists call osmotic balance, which just means the proper fluid balance inside and outside your cells. The synergy tip here is to pair this mineral-enhanced morning water with a small amount of healthy fat, a few almonds, a small piece of avocado, even a teaspoon of olive oil. Fat-soluble nutrients help stabilize cell membranes, which improves your cell's ability to hold water throughout the day. Helen, a 68-year-old retired nurse from Nashville, Tennessee, actually pushed back on this when I first mentioned it. As a nurse, she'd spent her career telling patients to limit salt, but she was waking up 3 times a night and was exhausted. She tried the morning mineral water protocol for 2 weeks and came back to my office visibly transformed. She said, "Dr. Hayes, I feel like I need to call every patient I ever told to cut their salt and apologize." Now, I'm not suggesting salt is a miracle. Context matters enormously. But for otherwise healthy seniors dealing with nocturia, this simple mineral adjustment can be genuinely dramatic. Number 2, the evening fluid replacement ritual that retrains your bladder. I told you early in this video that the number 2 tip might surprise you, and here it is. For certain seniors with nocturia, particularly those who have been using the bathroom frequently during the day as well, the solution is not to drink less fluid in the evening. It's to drink a very specific type of fluid in a very specific small amount at a very specific time. And the reason why will make complete scientific sense once I explain it. Here's the problem many seniors don't realize they have. Chronic dehydration causes the bladder to shrink in functional capacity. I know that sounds alarming, but let me explain. Your bladder is a muscular organ, and like any muscle, it responds to the signals it receives. When your body is chronically underhydrated, which, as I explained, is extremely common in older adults due to that blunted thirst sensation, the bladder adapts by becoming more sensitive to smaller and smaller amounts of urine. It starts firing urgency signals when it's only 30 or 40% full, instead of waiting until it's 70 or 80% full. A medical term for this is reduced functional bladder capacity, and it is extraordinarily common in adults over 65, and it dramatically worsens nocturia. Research published in the journal Neurourology and Urodynamics from a collaborative study between King's College London and the University of Pittsburgh found that adults who followed a structured bladder retraining and hydration protocol, including small, measured evening fluid intake, improved their functional bladder capacity by up to 35% over 8 weeks. 35%. That means their bladder could hold significantly more before sending an urgency signal, which directly translated to fewer nighttime waking events. Here's how the evening ritual works. At 5 o'clock, before your 6:30 cutoff, I want you to drink 4 to 6 ounces of warm water or warm herbal tea, specifically chamomile or valerian root tea, which have mild, smooth muscle relaxing properties that help calm the bladder wall. Drink it slowly, over 10 to 15 minutes. This is not about hydration. This is about gently and consistently giving the bladder a small, predictable signal, so it gradually learns to hold more without reacting urgently. Pair this with what I call the 5 o'clock walk. After your evening tea, take a 15 to 20-minute gentle walk. Movement encourages your kidneys to process remaining daytime fluid while your body is still upright and active, rather than having that fluid pool and process while you're lying down. Gravity is your ally when you're standing and walking. When you lie down to sleep, fluid that had been pooled in your lower legs due to gravity suddenly redistributes through your circulatory system, reaches your kidneys, and gets processed into urine right while you're trying to sleep. The evening walk significantly reduces this fluid redistribution effect. William, 74, a retired police officer from Cleveland, Ohio, told me he'd been getting up 4 or 5 times a night for 2 years. He was sleeping in the guest room so his wife could get some rest. He was deeply embarrassed and frustrated. After 6 weeks on the full protocol, including the evening tea ritual and the 5 o'clock walk, he was down to 1 trip a night, occasionally 0. He moved back into the bedroom. He told me it was the single most important thing I'd ever done for his marriage. I think about William often. And now, number 1. The afternoon elevation protocol, the tip I almost didn't include because it sounds too simple to be true. If there is one thing in this entire video I want you to take away, one thing I want you to write on a sticky note and put on your refrigerator, it is this. Elevating your legs in the afternoon, specifically between 2 and 4 o'clock in the afternoon for 30 to 45 minutes, at a level where your feet are above your heart, may be the single most powerful non-pharmaceutical intervention available to seniors for reducing nighttime urination. And I say this as someone who has prescribed medications for nocturia for 23 years. Let me explain the science, because it is elegant and it is conclusive. Throughout the day, when older adults sit at meals, watching television, working, resting, fluid accumulates in the tissues of the lower legs and ankles due to gravity and what we call reduced venous return, which simply means your veins aren't pumping blood back up to the heart as efficiently as they once did. This is particularly true after age 70, when vascular muscle tone decreases significantly. If you've ever noticed your ankles swelling during the day, this is exactly what's happening. When you lie down to sleep, all of that accumulated fluid, sometimes 500 to 800 milliliters, which is nearly a full liter of fluid, gets reabsorbed into your circulation almost immediately, delivered to your kidneys in a concentrated surge, and processed into urine during the first 2 to 3 hours of your sleep. This is why so many seniors wake up at 11 p.m. or midnight, just 1 to 2 hours after falling asleep, and can't understand why they stopped drinking at 8. They use the bathroom before bed, And yet there they are, wide awake with a full bladder. A landmark study from Nagasaki University in Japan, published in the journal PLOS One, examined adults over 60 with nocturia and had one group perform afternoon leg elevation for 8 weeks, while a control group continued normal habits. The leg elevation group experienced an average reduction of 1.4 nighttime bathroom trips, with 31% of participants achieving complete resolution of nocturia. Complete resolution from elevating their legs in the afternoon. Here's the mechanism in simple terms. When you elevate your legs above your heart level in the afternoon, you allow that accumulated leg fluid to drain back into circulation, while your kidneys are still fully active and functioning at their daytime peak. Your kidneys then process that fluid in the afternoon, converting it to urine that you excrete before your 6:30 fluid cutoff and before you go to bed. By the time you lie down to sleep, there is dramatically less stored fluid in your legs to redistribute, and your kidneys have far less to process overnight. The practical execution is simple. Get yourself a wedge pillow or even just 2 to 3 standard pillows stacked firmly. Between 2 and 4 p.m., lie down on your bed or couch and elevate your legs so your feet are approximately 12 inches above the level of your heart. Set a timer for 30 to 45 minutes. You can read, watch television, listen to a podcast. This is a rest, not an exercise. Do this every single day, and do it consistently because the benefits compound significantly over time as your vascular system adapts to the routine. The synergy tip for this strategy is compression socks. Wearing mild compression stockings available without a prescription during the day prevents as much fluid from accumulating in the legs in the first place, making the afternoon elevation session even more effective. Studies from the University of British Columbia found that combining daytime compression with afternoon leg elevation reduced nocturia events by 58% in adults over 65, compared to 31% for leg elevation alone. Eleanor, 82 years old, from Savannah, Georgia, was one of my most memorable patients. She had been getting up 5 times a night, had fallen twice going to the bathroom in the dark, and was living in genuine fear of a third fall. Her daughter had begun researching assisted living facilities. Eleanor was horrified at the thought of losing her home, her independence, her garden. We implemented the full protocol, and specifically the afternoon elevation. Within 3 weeks, she was down to 1 to 2 nighttime trips. Within 2 months, she was sleeping nearly through the night. She still sends my office a Christmas card every year. Last year, she wrote that she'd planted a new rose garden. She is still in her home. She is still independent. And I believe with every part of my clinical experience that good sleep made that possible. I want to take a moment before we close and speak to you directly, whoever you are, wherever you're watching this. I know how exhausting it is to live with broken sleep. I know how it chips away at you not just physically, with the fatigue, the brain fog, the elevated fall risk, the immune system deterioration, but emotionally. The feeling that your body is failing you. The quiet grief of giving up things you used to do because your sleep is too broken and your energy too depleted. I see this in my patients every single week, but I also see the other side of it. I see what happens when someone reclaims their sleep. I see the spouses who start sleeping in the same room again. I see the grandparents who take the trip they thought they'd never take. I see the 80-year-olds who are out in the garden at 7 in the morning because they woke up rested and alive for the first time in years. It is never too late. Your body at 65, 70, 75, 82, it still has the capacity to change, to adapt, to improve. The research is absolutely clear on this. Neuroplasticity, vascular adaptability, bladder retraining. These are not things that stop working because you're older. They work at every age. You simply need the right information and the right protocol. So let me summarize what we covered today in the order that I'd encourage you to implement them. Start with your fluid cutoff at 6:30 every evening. That alone may reduce your trips by 1 to 2 per night within the first week. Add the morning loading strategy, front-loading your hydration before 2 p.m. Incorporate a small pinch of mineral-rich salt into your morning water, and ensure you're getting potassium and magnesium through your diet. Begin the 5 o'clock evening tea ritual with chamomile or valerian root, followed by a 15-minute walk. And finally, and this is the one I want you to truly prioritize, implement the afternoon leg elevation protocol every single day between 2 and 4 p.m. with compression socks during your waking hours. All of the scientific references I mentioned today from Osaka University, the National Institute on Aging, King's College London, Nagasaki University, and the University of British Columbia are linked in the description below. I encourage you to read them, share them with your doctor, and have an informed conversation about what's right for your individual situation. If this video helped you, or if you think it can help someone you love, a parent, a spouse, a friend who's been struggling with this, please share it with them. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do so right now. I publish new content every week designed specifically to give seniors the real, evidence-based information you deserve to have. The kind of information that can genuinely change the trajectory of your health and your life. Now I want to hear from you. Tell me in the comments, which one of these 5 strategies are you going to try first? And if you're already doing one of them, tell me what your experience has been. Drop your age, drop your story, and know that I am reading every single word. Because this community, all of you watching, sharing, commenting, this is why I do what I do. Sleep well tonight. You deserve it.